So this is my real first video, and I was sent a question by a friend of mine about the challenges that I have here, the things I like and dislike, as well as the things I miss from home. So this is going to be a little bit of a long video. I'm going to try and keep it short for everybody. In regards to the challenges that I have here, when I first came here, I was really at the mercy of my school. I had never left home before. I had never been to a foreign country before. I had no clue what to do, but I had moved around a lot as a child. And so kind of the first things on my mind were survival. Where am I going to sleep? What am I going to eat? What will I wear? Do I have the proper clothing? Things like that. And so, in the first few months it was about kind of procuring resources, going to the market and getting soap that was good for my body and, hair soap and stuff like that. I don't have that much, but getting shampoo and things like that, and having those things and being able to take care of myself, saving money, how do I contact people? Do I have internet? How do I use the internet here? Do I need something different to use the internet? Because I had just one laptop and I didn't really have much else. So just wanting to make sure that I had those things correct. As time went on, it started to change. After I got done with those challenges, it became, how do I build relationships with people? How do I deal with the language barrier, the fact that I don't speak a lot of Korean, but a lot of people don't speak a lot of English? How do I explain myself? And so I had to learn and kind of deal with those things. My challenges now are related to my marriage, the fact that she's Korean, the fact that I'm American, the fact that she's never lived in America and I've only lived in Korea for 3 years. She's lived here for all of her life, and I've lived in America for most of mine. So we have very different values, very different cultural ideals, and so how to kind of blend those things and make them work. Also about the idea of how do I support our relationship? How do I support our marriage? How do I, pay for rent and things like that? How do we deal with those things together? Having those discussions that relationships regularly need to have, and how do we explain the differences in our thinking, and how do we deal with that? We're trying to deal with the language barrier. She speaks more Korean than she does English. I speak more English than I do Korean. So it's trying to mitigate those things. In regards to my likes and dislikes about living here in Korea, I think that I'm going to try and keep this short just because I don't want to rant on for anybody, but this is just my opinion. I hope that everybody's okay with that. In regards to my dislikes, one is traffic. Whether you're on the subway or whether you're in a car or whether you're on the bus, there's traffic. There's traffic everywhere. There's foot traffic, car traffic, different kinds of traffic. And there's a lot of people that live in Seoul. There are millions of people that live in and around Seoul, and so trying to get to do things sometimes is a little bit hard. So I dislike the fact that there's so many people in such a small area. You can feel very crowded and very cramped. I don't like the fact that sometimes we don't really know how to bridge the language barrier. There are a lot of people I know that speak more Korean than they do English. They haven't really gone after learning English. It's not a big thing to them. And so how do I explain how I feel and what I'm thinking, and doing those sorts of things can become a really big hassle. It's one of the things I dislike, that there's not kind of a happy medium. There's things like Konglish, which in America, the idea of Spanglish, Spanish and English kind of mixed. It's Korean and English kind of mixed, and so it can be a little bit jaunting to try and get through conversations like that. I think another dislike of mine is sometimes the negativity that people here show towards foreigners. Korea is still catching up with the rest of the world in the regard of dealing with international relations, how the world views them, how they view the world, how they understand people of different cultures. It's very different from, say, Japan or China or Singapore, Taiwan, other Asian countries that maybe have had more experience with international relations. Usually it will be a situation where either the person has had an incident before with a foreigner that didn't go well, or they hear TV reports, which honestly, a lot of the TV reports about foreigners are bogus. They don't really represent us properly. They don't allow us to really speak about who we are and the things that we're trying to do. And they don't really highlight a lot of the people that are trying to help the community or to help other people. They usually talk about the people that are drinking, doing drugs, causing problems, things like that. And that really reflects negatively on us, and so Korean people tend to look at even myself, even though I do community service, I'm in church, I teach, I respect people, I'm still looked at as amongst all of that. I'm not separate from the troublemakers. I'm not separate from those things. And that leads into one of my last dislikes, which is the idea that there are so many foreigners in Seoul and in Korea in general. The country is small, and it's okay that we come here and we visit and do things, but there are a lot of people here for job positions, and there are not a lot of job positions to really go around. A lot of high, good quality job positions to go around, and so it's very kind of, it's no longer a seller's market, it's a buyer's market. The schools can choose to hire you, not hire you, fire you at the drop of a hat if something goes wrong. They can always do that. Whereas before, when there weren't so many foreigners coming here, we were treated very differently. Yes, things like contracts and things were not really put into place properly, but we weren't treated negatively. We weren't viewed negatively. There weren't so many of us. I think also, not everybody, but there's a small chunk of foreigners that, have shown up drunk to school. I've worked with some people that have done that, have caused trouble at school and outside of schools that they work for, and just done a very horrible job of representing either their culture or foreigners in general as a great addition to the community. And that makes it hard because then people wind up taking it out on me and viewing me negatively or viewing the things I do negatively. And that's something I really greatly dislike. And that's something for another post about kind of the education system here and other things like that that we could get into. In regards to my likes, I like the culture here. Alongside of Japan, there's a lot of deep culture here. I wouldn't necessarily have a lot of information about it, but my wife has lived here for 40 plus years. She's born Korean. She hasn't moved away. And so she's a great source of information for me about the culture here in Korea. Also, the fact that, generally the culture here is very different because we have a country that in the last 50 years or so has gone from a third world country, very poor after the Korean War, to one that has risen to one of the top 5 economies in Asia. And that's a pretty amazing growth turnaround. Now, there are a lot of still issues and small learning things to do, but the fact that the society and the culture and even the economy has moved so fast is a pretty interesting thing, and it's one of the things to notice about this place. I think also I have a lot of great friendships here, and that's something that I really like, to be surrounded by people that I really enjoy being with and doing things with. The last part of this will really be about the things I miss from home, which are mainly 3 things. 1, I miss the weather in LA. Actually, let's make this 4. I miss the weather in LA. Right now it is wintertime here in Seoul. It is very cold. It snows. It's windy. It's dry skin. It's a nightmare. I would love to not have to wear a giant puff coat full of goose down in order to just walk outside for a few minutes, or feeling like the brisk air on your skin. It can really kind of get to you. Also, the weather in summer here is, it's hot, but it's humid, so you're sweaty, and it's disgusting. I'd rather have LA summer where it's, if you go inside and you have a fan turned on, you're doing okay, and you can be all right. I miss English. I miss English. I miss English. I miss a lot of things being written in English, spoken in English, existing in English, being able to think and talk in English, and having everybody around me understand me. I kind of missed that, knowing that here everybody speaks Korean, not a lot of people speak English, and so it gets a little rough. I think one of the last things is I miss the food culture. I'm a foodie. I like food, I like to eat, I like to cook, I like to do things, I like to experience culture through food. And so a big part of that is in LA, there's a lot of different populations, there's a lot of different people from all different places, and they bring their food, they bring their culture with them. And so in one place, in one city, to be able to experience tons of different kinds of food and culture is a really great experience. And it's one that is, you're hard pressed to find here, really. There's basically Koreans, and then there's a few different nationalities, but they're very small. Their populations are really small, so it's hard to really be able to experience the culture full blown here. The last thing is my friends and family. I miss seeing my mom. I miss seeing my sister. I miss seeing my friends. I have friends that I've known for nearly 10 years who we went to college together. We did campus ministry together. We did a lot of things together, and it's nice to be able to catch up with them, but living on the other side of the world, it's hard to be able to schedule Skype calls and video chats and things like that, and it's hard to pay and schedule for trips now that I have another person in my life, to work our schedules together so that we can go to LA, that I can show her where I grew up and things like that. It's a little bit tough. So I hope that this answered your question. I hope that this is a really great introduction to who I am, and I hope that you guys will continue to ask us questions. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on WordPress as well. I'm going to leave a link down below for this video, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.